Hey there, scary story fanatics. Welcome back to Cleaving Thought from Bone with your host, Sociopathic. Have you ever seen the true face of evil? Well, if so, you know that it wears a mask of compassion and comfort. So, get ready to be deceived and let the evil in. It's time to remember. Suicide's Epilogue.
The day was hot. The kind of day that anyone would wake up to sweating before even rising from bed. And that's exactly what Terry did. Terry arose from bed, the sun already shining with the light and warmth through his bedroom window. It was Sunday, so this was the day he got to sleep in later than usual. It was also the day that the transfer station was open. It was trash day. Before tackling the stinking heap collected in the trash bin outside, Terry allowed himself some wake-up time. After getting casually dressed and utilizing the facilities, Terry prepared the coffee pot for the morning and lit a cigarette while it prepared the morning pleasure. As Terry stomped the cherried cigarette butt, and the coffee pot neared the end of its cycle, Terry's wife, Tanya, emerged from the hallway and into the kitchen. "Hold on, baby. I'll get you a cup of coffee. Here's the cigarettes." Terry handed his wife the pack of smokes and gave her a kiss good morning. She looked so beautiful in the morning. Fluffy, messy hair, sleepy eyes, and a softness that seemed to emanate from beneath her pink robe. She gave him a kiss good morning back with sincerity and lit herself a cigarette. Terry walked back over to the counter and prepared his wife a cup of coffee, lovingly adding exactly 1 teaspoon of creamer, 2 teaspoons of sugar, and a sprinkle of French vanilla creamer as well. He knew that this added the flavor to the coffee that she liked without it being too much, a little trick he refined that she enjoyed. "We have to get this trash out of here today, honey. You have work tomorrow," his wife kindly reminded him. "Yeah, I know. I'm gonna get to it right after I'm done with my cup of coffee." And that is exactly what he did. His wife trailed off to get dressed, returning hastily so as to help her husband. Terry gathered a large contractor bag from the top of the fridge and proceeded out the front door of his home. As Tanya was still fumbling with her shoes, Terry wiggled the lid off the trash can. As soon as the lid was freed from the top of the can, a pile of maggots fell from around the rim of the can, hundreds of them, falling to the ground in piles. Terry gagged when a few landed on his shoe and stuck to his pant legs. As Terry held back his liquid breakfast and brushed the vile creatures from his clothes, his wife appeared coming through the front door of the house. "Hold on a minute, baby, I'll help you. Why didn't you wait for me?" Tanya asked, seeing the apparent disgust on her husband's face. She knew her husband tolerated a lot, but snakes and maggots were kind of his Achilles heel. "I just figured I'd get started," he replied with a grimace. "Is there a lot of them?" she asked about the maggot infestation. "Yeah, I'd say. You should have seen all of them that came pouring out of the back by the handle," Terry informed his wife. Terry pulled each bag from within the trash can and placed them into the larger bag his wife was holding open for him, leachate and maggots dripping from the black plastic all the way. It took all of Terry's strength not to vomit at the sight of the loathsome, writhing maggots. After tossing the single heavy bag into the back of their truck, the couple proceeded towards their destination, the transfer station, to drop off the trash. The rest of the hot summer day progressed typically with husband and wife and children all relaxing inside in the AC. Terry ate his dinner that evening and prepared his things for work the next morning. When the hour reached the appropriate time, Terry and Tanya retired to their master bedroom. After relaxing for a while in bed, the two made love before Tanya rubbed her husband's back as he fell into a deep, relaxing sleep. Terry walked into an old-style home. It was beautiful on both the outside and in. His wife played with their children as she always would, and the two were happy in their life. Now, this was only a dream, but the married couple had always dreamed of owning a bigger home, one with a large yard, white picket fence, and a swing set in the back for their youngest. Terry's nightly visions and happenings were a direct result of his dreams and aspirations for his family's future. Having such pleasant dreams also helped to ensure a good night's rest. Terry slightly opened his eyes to greet the nearly pitch-black room, with only the light of his cell phone to light his way to the snooze. Terry climbed back under the covers for an additional 9 minutes. Terry once again lifted his heavy eyelids. This time he knew he had to get up, lest he be late for work. Rising from the covers once again and hitting the dismiss button on his phone, Terry groggily prepared for his day. The routine was always the same. Put on a pot of coffee, grab clothes, wallet, phone, etc., and bring everything into the bathroom while the coffee brewed. 15 minutes later, Terry would emerge in his work uniform, nearly all ready. Double-checking his things, Terry then poured himself a cup of coffee and prepared one for his wife as well. Entering back into his bedroom, careful not to wake the children, he placed the cups of coffee on the nightstand beside his wife's side of the bed. Gently, Terry bent over and softly kissed his wife on the forehead. She slowly opened her eyes to greet her husband's. Terry couldn't help but smile at his wife's beautiful waking face. As Tanya slowly lifted her eyelids, she gasped for breath and jolted to a sitting position. Before Terry could ask what was the matter, Tanya tightly wrapped her arms around her husband. Terry knew what this meant. Tanya had been having another nightmare. Terry gripped his wife tight, kissing the side of her head through her hair. "Had another nightmare?" Terry asked. Tanya did not speak. She only shook her head in agreement. "It's okay, honey. It was just a dream. You're okay now," Terry reassured his wife. Tanya said nothing, except for softly whispering the words, "I love you." "I love you too," Terry told her. Terry sat at the edge of the bed beside Tanya, and the two of them sipped their coffees and enjoyed each other's company, something they did each day before Terry left for work. He really loved her. After about 15 minutes or so, Terry stood up and gathered some last-minute items. "I love you so much, baby. Have a good day, okay?" Terry implored his wife. Tanya agreed and put on a smile for her husband. After giving her one last kiss and saying goodbye, Terry walked down the hall, waking up the children for school as he went. Upon reaching the living room, he placed on his thin spring jacket and walked outside to greet his day, closing the door behind him. Terry opened the driver's side door, climbed inside, started his big black beast of a truck, and pulled out, ready for his daily commute. It was nearly black outside as the sun had yet to rise. Although the freeways were typically busy, the early morning drive was usually open, with little to no traffic. This allowed for Terry to finish waking up during the drive. Whether it was the morning radio show, his concentration on his morning coffee, or just the vacancy of a morning mind, it didn't seem like long before Terry pulled into the parking lot of the job site. He got out of his vehicle and walked into the brick building before him towards his work area to meet his fellow co-workers for the morning briefing. As he walked in, he only saw his good friend Leonard standing beside a pile of materials. Everyone else was still on their way. "Ready for today's sanding party?" Lenny asked. Yeah, Shit, fuck! Terry exclaimed. What? What's wrong? Lenny asked. I left my fucking sander at the house, Terry explained. Yeah, that does suck. Maybe you could go back home and grab it. I'm pretty sure no one wants to sand by hand all day, Lenny explained. With that, the rest of the crew walked around the corner and joined the conversation. After providing explanation and guaranteeing a speedy return, everyone agreed, including the boss, that Terry should just run back and grab his machine. It would save time and money that was worth the extra running. Terry promptly returned to his vehicle and proceeded to return the way he came. The way back took a little longer, due to the increase in traffic by then, and a more alert mentality. Terry pulled into the main drive towards his home, happy that he'd be able to see his wife again before returning back to work. But as he turned the corner in his truck, Terry spied another, smaller truck parked in his driveway. Thoughts raced through Terry's mind, but he was convinced that it was likely one of his in-laws or something like that. He parked next to his driveway, got out of the truck, and proceeded to enter his home. Now, it's not that he was trying to be stealthy or anything. Terry's truck was relatively new and barely made any noise. The same held true for the front door. However, intended or not, Terry's return home had apparently not been recognized by his wife. Moans and squeaking could be heard coming from down the hall to his left, from the direction of the master bedroom. Terry stood in the living room for a few minutes, trying to collect his thoughts and return his heart to its original position and out of his throat. He had to go back there. That's where his sander was. Terry slowly walked down the hallway, the sounds of his cheating wife getting louder and louder. Upon placing his hand on the bedroom doorknob, he had a moment of hesitation. This was it. The moment that would change his life forever. His life, and the lives of those around him. Terry slowly turned the knob and opened the door, not making a single sound. As his eyes gained sight of the happenings beyond the door, Terry identified the squeaking as the bed, being jostled back and forth. The moaning he had been hearing was indeed coming from his wife, being induced by the naked body moving up and down on top of her. Terry's heart sank into the bottom of his feet. Although he didn't make a single noise, after about 30 seconds of his spying, his wife's eyes, filled with pleasure, trailed off and landed on her bedroom doorway and onto her husband's sorrowful face, gazing from the threshold. Tanya pushed the man on top of her to the side, letting Terry now make out the identity of the man sleeping with his wife. His name was John. He was Tanya's ex from years before. John had always tried to put a thorn in their relationship from the start, even assuring Terry that he would eventually get into his wife's pants. John had been right. The two of them jolted to reality, covering themselves with blankets, stuttering out explanations. Fear and panic filled their eyes. Maggots, Terry thought. The way they wriggled in fear, squirming in their deceit. The two of them reminded him of the maggots that he despised so much. This is the thought that went through Terry's mind as he reached down to his camping bag beside the bedroom door. Terry loved to hike and camp, always keeping his trusty backpack with a machete attached to its side, ready to go at a moment's notice. Tanya and John's words fell silent as Terry pulled the machete from its sheath. "Oh my God, honey, wait, wait!" Tanya tried to beg. John rushed Terry, dropping Terry's blankets from the master bed to the floor. Without hesitation, Terry reeled back and flung the machete at John's naked leg, slicing halfway through and stopping at the bone. John fell to the floor. Blood spilled out from the wound. Tanya watched in horror as Terry lifted the machete above John and flung it downward, over and over and over again. Before long, pieces of John were all over the floor, the smell of blood mixing with the smell of sex. Terry threw up from the adrenaline, the smell, and what he had just done. Tanya reeled back in horror as her bloody husband approached. A few minutes later, the home fell completely silent. Hours went by without incident. The couple's children eventually arrived near their home, being dropped off by the school bus. The two girls walked towards their home, and as they did, they immediately knew something was off. The children spotted two trucks in or near the driveway, when at this time of day, there were usually no vehicles in the driveway at all. The two recognized their fathers, but not the smaller one parked in the driveway itself. Without giving the situation much thought, at the time, the two girls opened up the front door to their home. They saw nothing out of the ordinary at first, except for the fact that an adult was not to be seen. It seemed as if the house was vacant. The two girls called out for their parents, as one walked towards their parents' master bedroom, and the other went straight to the bathroom, having to pee really bad after a long bus ride home. The oldest reached the master bedroom first, and immediately let out a blood-curdling scream. Blood, body parts, gore, and unrecognizable slimes were strewn all over the floor, decorating the room in the macabre. She could not make out the mess at her feet, but she instantly recognized the bloody pile of a person heaped in the corner as her mother. The girl covered her eyes and fainted from sight. Her sister did hear the scream, but was experiencing her own moment of shock at the time. She had walked into the bathroom to find her father slumped on the toilet, his throat slashed and a deep sorrow in his eyes. The sisters learned a lesson that day. Evil isn't in storybooks or movies. It's not the things that go bump in the night, or things we perceive as paranormal. True evil is human negativity being spread to one another through actions and behaviors. Evil had been passed on to them.
So, the terror ends here, except that which will live on forever, because, as we already know, evil never really dies. So rest up and get your evil on right here again next weekend. And until then, remember to like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications so I can catch you all again next Saturday.